Dr. Jackie Williams with Capavella, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist by trade. And I'm joined today by
Zach Dodson. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, certified clinical hypnotherapist, and trauma specialist.
All right, well, welcome. And so today I want to talk to you a little bit about survival brain and learning brain.
Right.
And so these are two topics and terminology that I use when I am teaching with clients or students. And so there's two types of your brain. There's a survival brain and a learning brain. And just envision this little scenario. So think about a herd of elephants and a calf is born. And this is actually true. So when a calf is born, all of the adult elephants line up around the calf when the calf is born. And so envision that picture in your brain of all these adult elephants surrounding this baby calf that was just born.
Okay.
So when the adult elephants are there around the elephant, think about what the capacity is of this baby elephant. What is the calf capable of doing? Not much. But are they afraid of something that's lurking in the distance? Can they play?
Okay.
Can they learn? Can they let their guard down? Absolutely. So now think of that picture, and now think about that same calf, but with no adult elephants around. And so what happens is that calf has trained its brain because it has to survive. It has to be aware of what's around the corner. It has to be aware of potential dangers.
A lion.
It has to be afraid of a lion. It has to be afraid. It can't play. It can't roll around in mud to get cool. It can't just frolic around. It has to be on guard all the time. So when you think about learning brain and survival brain, the survival brain is the elephant that's sitting there by themselves. And the learning brain gets created because they have safety, because they can, because they have protection. So when I started learning about this and these two different sides, it's actually the way that your brain works. So there's two different parts of your brain.
Right.
There's a sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So I know this can get a little wordy, but bear with me, I got you. So what happens is we've all heard of this fight, flight, or freeze.
Right.
So when we get triggered into flight, or freeze, it's because our brain perceives, and actually there's this little almond-shaped part of your brain that's like right back here. It's an almond shape, it's called your amygdala. So that amygdala part of your brain, I like to call like the watchdog and the ninja. So anytime that survival brain, which is really called your sympathetic nervous system,
Okay.
so once that gets triggered, once that amygdala goes and the watchdog goes, hey, threat, there's a lion, then that's what our bodies do to react. And we as humans do it, not just that little calf. So when we perceive a threat, what happens in your body? Your heart rate gets jacked, your blood pressure, you start to sweat. Your brain goes into survival brain.
Right.
And so all that rational ability to think and go, okay, that's not a lion. I'm not being chased by a lion. That is a butterfly. I can manage that, right? So in that point, when our sympathetic nervous system gets triggered, our body reacts. But what happens is we don't really acknowledge that it's happening. It's unconscious and it just happens, and all these things get jacked up.
And sometimes we even fight it.
We absolutely fight it and do my favorite phrase of, I'm fine. We hear that in our office all the time, right? I'm fine. And we can look at somebody physically and go, no, you're really not. So let's talk about it. But what's happening in that moment is the sympathetic nervous system is being jacked. There was actually this study, I don't think they're allowed to do it anymore, but they showed people videos, and intermittently there was a blue square in the videos that these people were watching. Do you know this study?
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So every time that they saw subliminally the blue square, they would get shocked.
Right.
So
they're gonna get scared.
So I'm gonna kind of brace for impact of being shocked, right? So when I see a blue square, I'm gonna go, oh, okay, it's coming. It's okay, I got shocked, I'm okay. But I perceive that as my threat. So I'm bracing. So my hands get sweaty, my heart rate goes up. I don't think clearly because I'm not watching the video anymore. I'm preparing for the lion. I'm preparing for the blue square. So then what they did later on in the study is they were really mean and they showed the video, but it was subliminal. It wasn't outright. So what they did is their body reacted, even though they didn't cognitively know, look, there's a blue square.
They had no idea.
They had no idea, but their brain knew because that amygdala lit up and their body went, ah! And they all went, well, I feel it, it's in my body, but I don't know why I'm reacting that way.
Right.
It's because the sympathetic nervous system was reacting. So here's where it's really cool. So we have two parts, two divisions of our nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Fight, flight, or freeze happens when our sympathetic nervous system gets activated.
Right.
We cannot, as people, sustain in that capacity. We cannot stay in survival brain. That is what leads to depletion.
And a trauma response.
And a trauma response, absolutely. So let's just take elite athletes, for example. A lot of athletes will say, I need my adrenaline. I get a really great adrenaline rush and I perform very well when I'm in my sympathetic nervous system.
Isn't that good?
It is. But I answer every question that anyone could ever ask me with two sweet little words. It depends.
Right.
Because we need that. We can't say, I want to get rid of all of my sympathetic nervous system, because that's not sustainable either. But elite athletes use that part. But the problem is, we as elite athletes don't know how to come back down and activate the parasympathetic part of the nervous system.
The safe one.
I'm sorry?
The safe one.
The safe one. Instead of safe, I want you to think about the recovery one.
Recovery, okay.
So when we have the recovery part, we actually burn more calories. We absorb nutrients from food better because our body's not fighting for a lion. It's not fighting. It's going, oh, okay, so now I can absorb because I can relax and I can recover quicker because I've now activated that parasympathetic nervous system.
So you're saying basically that a recovery is not just physiological, it's also psychological.
It's psychological, yes. And so many athletes come to me and say, okay, this is all great. Make it happen, what do I do?
Right.
And I say, this is the only thing that you need to do. And I say only because it is really something that it's incredibly doable for elite athletes, is we have to put skills in of mindfulness.
Right.
Once we have an awareness of, I now know my heart rate, I feel my blood pressure, I feel my sweaty hands, I feel these, okay, my body's reacting. Once we feel that, we have to acknowledge and not do the I'm fine. So then we can understand and we can build a toolbox, so to speak, with TMAP, because there's team tools in there to help retrain your brain to recovery.
And that's kind of where the PPP scale, the
Absolutely.
3P scale comes into play,
Yes.
because it's going to measure that.
It measures, so the PPP scale will measure where you are. It'll help measure to see where you are and how you react to things. Do I react to whatever it is that's in the outskirts? Is that a threat or is that a challenge? If I react everything to a threat, then I'm always going to be activating my sympathetic nervous system. If I have the mindfulness to say, okay, that is a challenge, not a threat, and I am absolutely capable at managing a challenge.
Right.
And I stay within my parasympathetic nervous system consciously, because the nervous system is an unconscious part of our body. It goes from our brain to our gut. So you know the saying of trust your gut? Well, it's like literally it's a reason, because there's a vagal nerve goes to your gut.
Right.
So when we trust our gut and we retrain our brain, it's kind of like an injury. You're an athlete, so when you get an injury, you have to recover. You have to retrain it. You have to be able to go and take steps, baby steps, which is exactly what the team tools are going to train your brain to do, so that you can then differentiate and go, okay, I know I need to activate this part of my brain for this activity, for this sport, for this meeting in the boardroom, for this when I walk on the court, when I walk into this classroom, when I walk into whatever, I know I need this, but I also know, and I have the conscious decision to say, I also need this, because if we don't stimulate the parasympathetic part of our nervous system, that leads to depletion
And atrophy.
and atrophy, not strength. When we are when we're in only the sympathetic, it leads to depletion and not strength. When we can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, we recover, we absorb everything. So it makes elite athletes perform better because that part of their brain can now think rationally versus, oh my gosh, and I can't run this race. My heart rate's I'm too tired. I'm not gonna make it. I'm only 15 miles in and I'm running a marathon. And then we can use those tools to say, wait, yes, I can lower my heart rate. Yes, I can do this.
Or if you're in the boardroom and you're getting ready to give a presentation.
Absolutely.
And you're gonna be so nervous about your boss listening to you and so nervous about what it's gonna mean for your career and so nervous about what it's gonna mean for your paycheck and all of that other stuff.
Absolutely. We activate the parasympathetic nervous system and you will notice the difference in your body because you're able to recover, train, and build muscle. That's when you recover.
So it's kind of like training an elite athlete to not only get their body in shape, but their mind in shape.
We spend a lot of time training our bodies.
Right.
A lot of time. Elite athletes or the non-athlete or just someone in the middle. We train a lot on our body and we forget about that sweet parasympathetic nervous system that goes to the psychological part of our brain to make us faster, to make us more efficient, to make everyday challenges just that. It's a challenge, not a threat. That baby elephant can live in learning brain when we activate the parasympathetic nervous system.
Great.
You finally came to the studio.
Finally did. Yo, this thing's not easy though.
Tell me a little bit about that, man.
No, it's not easy at all, man. It's like the pressure's on you. You gotta think of what you say. It's not easy at all, but it's fun though.
He came up here thinking he was gonna be a superstar. He watched Cory, watched Sarah, watched Misty,
I know.
watch everybody have fun. He shows up, starts sweating. Just like he does at the workout.
The pressure cooker's on. Like all the lights is on you. You know what I mean? It's like you freeze up.
I legitimately think you sweated more right now than you did in the workout from earlier today.
First of all, I gave zero effort today.
This guy showed up today.
I gave zero effort.
And he said he wanted to save it for the studio so he could give it all when he got up here. And then showed up,
I didn't want
wobbly knees.
I didn't want to break a sweat. You know, but first of all, the fact that I showed up this morning is an improvement. I wasn't gonna show up at all.
He also told me that he wouldn't come earlier. We had a filming session yesterday, but he had to get a haircut.
Yep, facts.
He did this for y'all.
Facts. I was looking hurt yesterday. You can't have me on camera looking hurt. Come on now.
How come you show up the most out of anybody? Most attendances, lowest grade point average.
Yes.
You show up every week.
Attendance matters. Attendance is key, right?
Accountability.
Exactly. Attendance matters. Showing up is half the battle.
This guy shows up, gets last place, but he always shows up.
That's all that matters.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
All that matters. As long as I'm there. You can never say I wasn't ever there. So that's what matters.
Not true, man.
Exactly.
You've seen this thing since the begining. What's the coolest part about everything you've seen?
The growth, man.
Yeah, like,
day one, man.
I told you I had an idea.
I told you. I remember the day you came to. I don't know if he was driving somewhere. I think we were driving down. Probably was driving down somewhere. And you listened to some podcast, and then all of a sudden you came with this idea.
It was crazy.
It was crazy. Now
let's do how I built this.
To come to day one from now, growth is crazy. So I literally could say I've seen it since like the thought process in your head to how it coming out. So much respect for that, sure.
How does it live up to, obviously, you know, a lot of this is big dreaming and all of that. I've told you ideas over the years, like, hey, we're gonna do this. We're gonna get it on an iPhone. We're gonna get the watch. You know, we're gonna get Android. We just released that yesterday.
I saw that.
Is it living up to the hype? Are we on the right path? Like, you get to use it. You've seen it.
Definitely. Like, I literally from the first beta test, from back in the day, when I first tested out till now, the growth is exponential. Like, it's growth so much. Like, the features, like even the setup, how it looks way better than the first.
Yeah.
So that's what as long as you see growth, it's really all that matters. You know what I mean? Little by little, it's gonna keep getting better and better. The more time you have invest, think about it. Even all the big apps.
Yep.
Google, Snapchat, all them things.
Yep.
They all start somewhere and they all grow. They all evolve. They constantly evolve as we speak. As every time an update come out, so it's always gonna be constantly evolving.
That's the crazy part for me too, is I think because everybody that's on it right now, we're almost at 1,000 people, so we are gonna celebrate 1,000. But this entire process, because everybody has access to the team that's building and not just me,
Right.
we get the feedback, and anytime there's a little thing, they're like, oh, the sky's falling,
Right.
you gotta fix it.
Right.
And then like I'll get on my, whether it's Instagram, whether it's even just like something as simple as the Apple TV,
Right.
and we have so much patience.
No.
when you have to restart it. We get no patience. We get no,
it's-
like everybody expects it to be
That's
perfect.
how it is now. It's just crazy. But people don't understand. It's constantly evolving. Everything evolves, though.
Yeah.
And there's always updates for everything, no matter what app there is. So that's how it is. That's how it is.
So I told you about the TFT in December,
Yes.
the fitness tournament, team fitness tournament, and it's going to be this format. Are you excited about it?
No, I'm definitely ready. I'm gonna have my team ready.
So here's what it is. We're doing.
I'm gonna have my team ready for sure.
It's going to be a tournament. So essentially, think about March Madness meets the basketball tournament, TBT. So teams of 4,
Yep.
and there's going to be a seeding round. So you bring your team of 4, it's free. You join. We're going to do a 3-day challenge, and the top 24 teams move on to this bracket. So in the bracket, it's going to be 24 single elimination tournament that every couple of days or every week, we're going to go head to head, and then on December 30th, we're going to crown a champion, give you guys some prize money. We have a number in mind. It's going to be substantial. So
Hey.
definitely do it. It's free to join. You win, you're going to get a trophy. You're going to get some other prizes along the way. It's going to be a really cool event. This lazy bum is telling me that he's got the secret team ready to rock.
I'm gonna have my team ready. I'm ready. Trust me.
He says that. Last place every
I'm
time.
gonna show up every single time now. That's what matters. That's
So
what
the
matters.
TBT is going to be, or the TFT is going to be cool. We're really excited about that. But one of the reasons we want to do it isn't just to promote community and all of that, is that we see a gap that everybody wants to start on January 1st. Everybody's like, new year, new body, all of that
Yeah,
stuff.
right.
And then they fail, right?
Yes.
So
By
we want to
February.
promote almost like a pre-resolution. So think about jump starting during the holiday season, something that's gonna help you be accountable. You're gonna have a good community around you. You're gonna be on a cool app that's social, giving out some prizes, so incentivizing you to start the new year already in a different mindset, already with the momentum going forward. So if we can do that, and then going into January,
Right.
we're already thinking like, you go to your job, you're back from being in the virtual situation, you go in, we do a challenge for your job. For anybody else, people can already be in that mindset to set goals and continue that momentum. So that's one of the reasons we want to do it, and hopefully it's an annual thing.
And I think it's gonna be legit. It's gonna be nice. I'm excited for it, to be honest. Like I said, I'm not guaranteeing to win, but I know I'm gonna show up. That's all I gotta say.
He is hoping to win a raffle.
You know what I mean?
Like a random raffle.
A win's a win, brother. You know what I mean? I'll take any dub I can possibly get. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm excited to do it. So I'm ready. I think I have a good couple. I know I got one. I got my boy G is definitely down.
Oh, I already know.
So you already know he
showed up to the workout.
I got him on lock. So he's the one person he's gonna deliver. So
So I got one more question for you, and it's a 2-part question. You know we've got nutrition tools coming in. I know you're not a big count your calories and all that. And then we've got some mental strength and conditioning. So we stay away from calling it mental health because that is an expert level service.
Right.
What we want to do is help promote mindfulness, emotional intelligence and awareness. So really just help people perform within themselves. And then from there, if they need anything else, they can do that. What is your excitement level or expectation as we go from a fitness forward app to a health platform?
no, that's basically that's great actually, because you're maximizing everything.
Yeah.
You're not putting yourself in one lane. You know what I mean? You're branching out to every single thing. That's people don't understand. All that stuff is important to every single facet of life.
Yeah.
It's not just about just working out all the time. You know what I mean?
Of course.
There's more to it. So that's the fact that you add all that stuff to it makes it just even better.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. That's actually to make it even better. Like I said, it's constantly evolving and constantly growing. So
You're going to get involved with your nutrition?
I mean, I'm not gonna do all that though. You know what I mean?
He won't.
I mean, I won't necessarily do it. But like I said, I intermittent fast anyway. So
Yeah.
it's not like
No, I'm
like
just messing.
I don't cook anything, so it don't really matter. So
It'll make it that platform that we tell people it's going to be, and that what it is. So
Right.
like as you bring more people, I know like you've been a huge advocate of ours
Yeah.
since day one, getting people in, telling people, hyping it up,
Right.
social media and all of that. Like when you start to tell people, hey, it's not just track your workout for the people that are like, I'm not really
Working
that
out.
person,
Right.
but I do care about my food. I do care about my overall health and wellness, my mental well-being, my nutrition well-being, my spiritual well-being,
Right.
all of that. We're gonna be able to say this does that. So I'm excited for you to be able to tell that
no,
story.
yeah, it does it all. And it's social too. It does
Always
it all.
social, yeah.
Always social. Like I'm all about being social. So
He loves the people.
I love the social. That's one of my favorite part about it is the workout and social aspect of it. It's like 2 in 1. Like it mixes everything together. So the fact that you can do all that in one platform just makes it way better.
Nah, I appreciate that. So Cory does this thing, and Cory is out of town this weekend because he's lazy and he took time off because that's what he does. No, I'm just kidding. He just gave a really big presentation, so he's off being an expert.
Okay.
So I have to sub in for him. So I've got to ask you a series of questions, and I'm gonna get them out of order and wrong. He calls it the hot seat. So Cory, this is for you, and I apologize for messing it up. Qdoba or Chipotle?
Chipotle.
Favorite movie?
Bad Boys 1 and 2 and 1 and 2.
All right, wrong answer. The one movie. So-
No, I mean, but it's Bad Boys.
Okay.
Bad Boys. I just
Favorite movie quote?
That's a hard one. I don't even.
We'll come back to it.
Yeah, come back to that one.
All right, so favorite color? We already know.
Red.
Already knew that.
Yep.
So,
All day.
hype music. So if you're walking into a boxing ring, what's your hype
DMX.
music? That's an artist.
No, but the DMX
What's
like
the song?
anything DMX. Anything from the first album though. From the first album, I'm telling you right now.
This is
DMX's.
This is the hot seat, but I'm gonna tell a whole truth on this guy. He says DMX. This man wants to work out to R&B every time.
You know what? You might be right though. Some Ed Sheeran on that thing, get it going. A good ballad. Or some Bryson Tiller.
This is why I can't mess with you, man. All right, so back to a movie quote. You got to give me a movie quote.
Man.
You got to have a quote somewhere.
I love movies too. Like I can't even think of one right now. It's crazy. Damn.
Favorite movie villain?
Villain.
Favorite movie villain?
Damn.
And you're cursing on the
I
thing.
mean,
You have let Cory all the way down.
no,
All right.
I'm trying to think. Now I'm gonna be thinking about this all day.
I gotta be honest, you failed. We will write back and tell you
Yeah, let me know
what
about
those what those two are.
Damn. All right,
If you
cool.
could say one thing to our teammate community, what would you say to them?
In general, just
Anything. What do they need to know?
get on the app and use the app. It works. It's legitimately, I'm not just saying it because my boy, I love using the app. It does everything I need. I love tracking my work. I like to see progress. So I love it. I like the, like I said, the camaraderie from a distance during these times. I love it. So I recommend anybody just get on it and use it.
I appreciate it, bro.
My man.
Yes, sir.
Hey guys, Cory with Capavella, and today I've got Megan Ware, Registered Dietitian, Nutrition Awareness. You can do a better intro than that, so just tell people.
I'm Megan. I'm a registered dietitian. As Cory said, I own a private practice called Nutrition Awareness, and so we're going to be talking about nutrition today.
So I got a prestigious degree from Virginia Tech, the Science of Food, Nutrition, and Exercise.
Okay.
However, I think I may have taken like 1 or 2 nutrition classes. I know it's important. I know about 3 macronutrients.
Okay.
So I get a lot of questions from my patients on, you know, they're trying to recover. Hey, Cory, what do I do? And my answer, which is contained within my scope, is, you know, everything's good in moderation. Mm-hmm. And then I tell them to come talk to someone like you. So kind of give us an overview of macronutrients, why they're important.
Okay. First, I'm going to tell you why I'm qualified to talk about
Yes,
nutrition,
yes, that
because
too.
I think it's kind of a big deal.
Yes.
I think a lot of times we get a lot of our nutrition information from social media or somebody that has a 6-pack. Just because they have a 6-pack, we think, hey, what's that person eating? Maybe I should eat what that person's eating, or I should work out how that person is working out. But what we know is nutrition is an individualized science. And so to become a registered dietitian, you have to have 4 years of nutrition education. You have to do a year-long internship. You have to pass a national registration exam. You have to be licensed to work in your state. So I'm a licensed dietitian nutritionist in Florida. So basically, we understand the science behind how the body works, the physiology of how the body works in accordance with what you're eating. So it's not just about chicken is healthy and broccoli is healthy and brown rice is healthy, because anybody can tell you that. But they don't really understand how the body works with that nutrition and brown rice and broccoli and exactly what it's doing and what you need as an individual based on your activity level and your lifestyle and so on and so forth.
So I think one of the most, I guess, controversial topics right now, I don't know if it's controversial, but it seems
Everything in
as if-
nutrition is controversial.
Okay,
like
true.
literally everything.
So it seems like carbs are just like bad
The devil.
right now. They are
The
awful
devil.
right now. but I know that that's the body's primary source for fuel. So I guess how did that come about?
How did that happen?
Yeah, and tell us why it's not 100% factual.
So had we been sitting here having this conversation maybe 20, 25 years ago, you would have been saying the same exact thing about fat. Fat is the devil, which is funny because it's like this cycle. We choose one nutrient to say, this is bad, stay away from it, because it's a lot easier to do that than to tell someone the actual science behind how the body works with nutrition. So to just say, hey, cut out carbs, it's really easy to say that because then you can not eat donuts, you're not eating McDonald's, you're not eating pastries and chips and pretzels and cookies and cake. It automatically just cuts all that out with one simple rule. Now the problem with that is you're also cutting out lots of foods that have beneficial nutrients, and your body is more likely to crave that thing that you're cutting out. So when you cut out all carbohydrates, guess what your body is going to crave? Carbohydrates. So carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are the three main macronutrients. They're the only three macronutrients. And so they all have a specific job in the body. It's not just about calories in versus calories out, like a lot of people say, because you could eat 7,000 calories of spinach in a day and your body is still going to be hungry. And it's still going to be hungry, not because spinach isn't good for you, but because it's not a good source of carbs, it's not a good source of protein, it's not a good source of fat. So when you're not getting a good balance of those macronutrients, your body's going to send you a signal and let you know. So when you take away your body's primary fuel source, which your body wants to use carbohydrates as fuel, well, now the body's going to send you a signal. And a lot of times that signal is fatigue, it's anger, moodiness, that hangry that everybody talks about, those low blood sugars. That's a signal from your body that it needs carbohydrate. So I would much rather someone be choosing good sources of carbohydrates, like sweet potatoes or apples, that give you fiber and give you long-lasting nutrients over time, than to just say, carbs are the devil, I'm going to try not to eat them. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of clients. They all come to me having tried these low-carb diets, and guess what? They're not on them anymore. That's the big thing. The big thing is, if you're trying something, I want you to be able to do that forever. Because if you can only do it for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and then you're going to look for something more sustainable, there's not really a big point in doing that at all.
So it's important to have an understanding of why you're doing these things. I think people so blindly just follow because so-and-so said it. What happens if, you said it's individual to each person, so what happens if we try something and we feel guilty for pivoting, we feel guilty like we failed, but you and I have had multiple conversations, and that's part of this nutrition journey.
It's part of figuring out your whole puzzle. And you know, one of the reasons why carbs have got a bad reputation now is because everybody thinks carbohydrate turns into fat. So that's not exactly what happens in the body, but if I wake up in the morning and I have a bagel and a cup of orange juice for breakfast, that's a lot of carbs. Now, I don't go out and bike 35 miles. I sit at my computer and I'm talking to clients. And then 4 or 5 hours later, I'm having lunch. And then if my lunch is, even if it's something healthy like a sub on whole grain wheat and a bag of baked chips and an apple, that's still a lot of carbohydrate in that meal. I never burned through the carbohydrate from this morning. So that extra fuel that's sitting there in my body now needs to be stored. And that's the storage form of fat. Whereas somebody else might go bike those 35 miles, come back, eat that sub, that apple, and those chips, and be perfectly fine and be utilizing all those carbohydrates. And that's why it's so individualized. And if you're doing something that's not working for you and you find, hey, you know, when I cut my carbs before, I started to see some results, it's just figuring out what's the right amount of carbohydrate for your body. It doesn't mean you have to go no carbohydrate. It just means you need to figure out how much fuel am I actually burning in a day? If carbohydrates are my fuel, how much fuel do I need to get through?
I love that you use the word fuel. So what I'll get is, so if someone comes to see me, they're usually recovering. And one of the first things, if they're going to decrease their activity, then they want to decrease their caloric intake, right? Because if I keep doing that, I'm going to gain weight, or I'm going to lose all the talk about it as fuel. Talk about that mindset. So it's less about what number of how many macronutrients, but about quality food. Is that an accurate statement?
For sure. I think people get in this this give and take, or this game that we play with ourselves of, if I burn a certain amount of calories, then I can eat a certain amount of calories. And if I'm injured or if I'm not working out that day, then I should definitely be eating less that day. But that's not really taking into account the cues from your body. So a lot of people think the most calories you burn in a day is from exercise, and that's just simply not true. You burn the most calories just with your body keeping you alive. So your heart beating, lungs breathing, skin cells regenerating, hair growing, blood flowing, all those things are burning calories constantly, all day, every day. So especially when you are injured and then you say, I'm gonna take some of those calories away, the last thing your body is going to do is have enough of those calories to go towards that injury to help you repair. And it's the same thing with recovery. So maybe you had a really hard workout one day and you're not super hungry. That's just because your body doesn't need help repairing that day. I bet the next day you're going to be super hungry, but some people may look at that and say, well, I can't eat as much today because I wasn't as active today. But if your body is sending you a signal, I'm hungry, I need more, you need to listen to that. And so we tend to just follow these rules, just kind of blindly turn off the cues that our body is sending us and say, no body, you're stupid. I know what I need according to this piece of paper or this macro count or this calorie count that I have for the day.
So, we've talked about, carbs and how they're not the devil. Like, so if you had to explain to somebody, what's the role of protein? What's the role of fats?
Yeah. So protein is the fuel for all the structures in your system. So your bones, your teeth, your hair, your muscles, all those things are fueled by protein. So when you're doing any kind of exercise and you're breaking down muscle, so when you're creating those little tears in those muscle fibers, and that's what makes you feel sore, you need nutrition to help build those tears back up. And protein is the main thing that does that. The other thing protein does is it helps keep you full. So if I said, here's a handful of popcorn, here's a handful of steak, which one's gonna keep you fuller?
Taking the steak.
Everybody knows the steak, and you don't necessarily know why. You're not like, oh, that's a really high protein food, but it's because it's high in protein. So it takes longer physically in your body to break down protein. So when you have a meal without protein, it's not gonna last you very long. You're gonna be hungry an hour, 2 hours after you had that meal. Fat is the only thing that sends a signal to your brain that you're satisfied. Carbs can't do that, protein can't do that. So that's why when you go on a very low fat diet or you cut fat out, you don't feel satisfied. And so if we go back to that typical healthy meal that we started with, the chicken and the broccoli and the brown rice, you may eat that and feel physically full, but not mentally satisfied. And so you'll have a meal like that and you're like, man, I really want a cookie, or like, should I go get more chicken? Like something just doesn't feel right. And that's usually because there's not enough fat, because fat is what fuels the brain. So it's also why if you have a high fat meal, like a comfort food, French fries, ice cream, cheesecake, you feel pretty full afterwards and you're like, I don't need to eat again in an hour after you have a meal like that, because it feels really comforting. But that being said, you can get that same signal from things like healthy fats, avocado, nuts, seeds, olive oil, salmon. All those things send that satisfaction signal to your brain as well.
All right, so it's a lot of information. Next time someone comes to see me and they ask me about my opinion on macronutrients or what they should do, obviously staying within my scope, kind of the overview statement, what can I tell them? What do you think the best thing for me to tell them is?
All three of them are very important and have different roles they play in the body. So you don't want to cut out any one of those macronutrients. Usually the diets that do that are short-term solutions. It's like throwing a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. And in my experience, like I said, people always come back months later to say, I want to do something more sustainable. So it's choosing a quality source of a complex carbohydrate, a protein, and a healthy fat. And if you're doing that every single time you eat, your body is going to stay well fueled throughout the day.
Perfect. One more question. So obviously we have a lot of athletes at varying training levels. I'm going a little off script here, but
I like it.
yeah. Talk about how to identify the correct supplements, right? So it's kind of the wild, wild west.
Oh yeah.
And I know a lot of them aren't. I mean, you can pretty much put whatever you want and slap whatever label you want. How do you make sure you're getting the right thing? And what type of decisions should you make before you even decide if you need anything?
I think first and foremost, food first, above everything. So if you are going in with a bad diet and you're just trying to out supplement that bad diet, you're not going to get the results that you want out of it. I'll have people that come in and they're like, I have 4 protein shakes a day because I want to gain muscle. But they're not doing the work to gain the muscle, so the supplement is completely irrelevant. Or you're drinking a protein shake on top of the 60 grams of steak that you had for lunch, but you did a 1-hour lift. Like, you don't need 150 grams of protein. So it is based on the individual, but as far as supplements go, they're not regulated at all. So I always tell my clients I could sweep the dust up off this floor and call it moon rock enhancing metabolism powder, and I could sell it to you legally until you proved that I was causing harm. So if you go into a supplement store having that in mind, that's going to put you in the right headspace to decide what here is right for me. I always recommend going through third-party tested companies, meaning they have another company test all of their products to prove that what is in there is in there. Another good thing to do is look for the NSF certification, Nationally Certified for Sport, not just for athletes, but for any individual, because that would ensure that you're not taking a branched chain amino acid powder that has unknown steroids in it, and then you're getting flagged as a collegiate athlete. For a normal individual, you would want to do something like that as well, because that ensures that what they say is in there is in there. But as far as like being able to say individually is a supplement right for you or not, there's probably only 5 or 6 supplements that I recommend on a regular basis, on even a semi-regular basis, out of the millions that are out there. So I think for the most part, you probably don't need it.
All right, perfect. So obviously this is just the surface,
Yeah.
and there's gonna be a lot of cool stuff going forward, but if they're interested now, tell them how they get in touch with you.
So to get in touch with me, you can go to nutritionawareness.com, on Instagram at nutrition.awareness.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.